I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I'm Andrew DeWolf.
And I'm Brianna Jones.
And welcome to Musicals with Cheese, a podcast where I try to get Andrew and Brie to like musical theater. We were like computers rebooting right there. It was great. And you guys, we have a super special guest. I'm like so excited about our guest today.
Yeah, he's so excited that your brain just stopped working for a second.
No, literally, you want to know what happened?
What?
He said hi instead of hello.
I did.
And it threw him off.
But
Who's our very special guest?
please join me in welcoming and moving past that awkward intro. Please welcome content creator, playwright, actress, and unhinged TikTok star of the ages, Joan Milburn!
Hello. I'm so excited to be here.
So Joan, like, once again, like, in case people don't know you just from your voice, please tell them, like, who you are.
Okie dokie. I am Joan Milburn. I am currently living in New York City, and I'm an actor. I'm a playwright, and I am also a slightly unhinged TikTok comedian with absolutely no niche whatsoever, just doing whatever I think is funny and having a grand old time doing it.
Hell yeah. I've been a fan of yours for a long time, and I noticed a lot of theater crossover with you, which is fantastic. Like, your acting performances go from like film to stage and all that. So when I reached out, you had an answer right away of what you wanted to cover. And what's your history with this performance that I'm vague talking about?
So what we're talking about tonight is David Byrne's American Utopia.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have a very interesting relationship with this piece. First and foremost, I've actually never seen it in person, but they filmed the Broadway production. It was a Spike Lee joint, and they streamed it on HBO. And after that, I've probably seen it about 5 or 6 times at this point. But it's a musical that I feel like addresses a lot of questions that I have as an actress in theater, questions of accessibility, streaming, what it means to perform as an ensemble. And yeah, I've been hooked on it for about 3 months now. I listen to it every single day, and I'm hoping to catch it before it leaves. I learned that it is closing on April 3rd.
Ooh, I think it might have closed by the time this episode posts, now that I'm doing like a little bit of math. So y'all might have missed your chance to see this. Oh no.
We can post on Twitter, though.
Yeah, we can post on Twitter. Like, go see the show. But while we're talking about it, American Utopia, cue the music, Bree.
Saw the wandering eye inside my heart, shouts and battle cries from every part. I can see those tears, everyone is true. When the dawn appears, I'll go right through.
American Utopia was directed by Spike Lee, book, music, and lyrics by David Byrne. It premiered on Broadway at the Hudson Theater in previews October 4th, 2019, and officially on October 20th, closing on February 16th, 2020. It was set to return to the Hudson for another limited engagement in September of 2020, but, as we now say a lot on the show, was delayed by the COVID-19 pandemic. A new 6-month run started September 17th, 2021, and goes through at the St. James Theater until April 3rd of 2022, sadly enough. Playbill describes the plot of it as the theatrical concert includes songs from David Byrne's American Utopia along with songs from the Talking Heads and his solo careers, which is a terrible, terrible like headline from Playbill. So, Joan, when did you first was it mid-pandemic when you started taking a look at this? And do you have a history with David Byrne and like his Talking Heads work and Stop Making Sense and all that?
Yeah, so I am a long time David Byrne and Talking Heads fan. I grew up listening to them because of my parents. And it was exactly that during mid-pandemic. I stumbled across it. And I remember when I first saw it being posted on Playbill, Broadway.com, I was like, what is this? Why are all of these people wearing like gray suits and they're barefoot? And my interest was certainly piqued. And so I started looking at the music and realized that it was this interesting mixture of old Talking Heads songs, as well as music that David Byrne has independently produced. And then some of his songs that he did with St. Vincent a couple years ago. And it seemed to be this really interesting culmination that was decades in the making. And one thing that really made me be like, I have to see this play is actually the way that David Byrne describes it himself. And I saved it so that I could not misquote it, but it is the question: what if we could eliminate everything from the stage except the stuff we care about the most? Without cables or wires, what would be left? Well, it would be us and you, and that's what the show is. And I think that is the most perfect description of American Utopia, because there is pretty much no set, no real blocking. It's mainly movement. And it's this ensemble of people of all ages, backgrounds, and they come together for this concert musical. But what astounded me when I first saw it was that it has such a clear through line, even though it doesn't, but it does. And it was effortless and stunning.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. I just watched it for the first time today. I'm a big fan of David Byrne in like an offset way. Like I loved Stop Making Sense, but I love it in a Jonathan Demme appreciation sort of way rather than a Talking Heads appreciation. And I love True Stories. That is like one of my favorite movies, and it's so goofy. So this was just a good, strangely optimistic watch for me. But Andrew, what is your history with David Byrne?
I really like Talking Heads, and I have for a very long time. I've never seen any of the like movies or performances or anything like that. I have seen his interview where he talks about why he wears the large suit, and it's to make his head look small, which I thought was very funny. But I've never actually seen anything beyond that. But honestly, this was really good. I really love the costumes that they like. The suits with the bare feet is amazing. The instrumentation is phenomenal. And I think it does have a strong through line, despite it not really being like a musical, if that makes any sense. And I really like that.
Yeah, I agree. When I say the name Alex Timbers, does that ring a bell to you, Andrew? Or I'm sure you know it, Joan.
It's like a director or something,
right?
Yeah.
You're in the right territory. He directed some very high-class shows like Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, Beetlejuice, Moulin Rouge, and Oh Hello on Broadway. And on top of all that, Rocky, but we're just going to ignore that one.
That's fine. That's fair. That's fair.
One of the most brave and interesting theatrical directors currently working. And every time he does a show, even when I don't particularly like it, visually and execution wise, it's always impressive. So I was really surprised halfway through when I was like just researching while watching. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Even a minimalist show, Alex Timbers is going to find some way to make it weird and theatrical in ways I didn't expect. So what is the through line of the show, do you think, Joan? Is there a theme between all of these different sporadic numbers?
I think it all ties back into this original question. What does it mean to make a show where it's just us? It's what matters the most. And that's the artists that are creating the piece, and then also the audience that's watching it. And I also think that David Byrne did a really wonderful thing of finding ways to loop in social justice issues, things that are happening in current events. And I also know that he has been updating the show as well through the pandemic, through the civil rights movement, everything that we've been seeing in the last couple of years. And I think the through line for me is what it means to come together as artists with our audience, what it means to build community through art, and to also appreciate art and music from the past while still innovating in the future. And I also love that they made the decision to stream it, because one thing that I was struggling a lot with during the pandemic was that theater just really shut down.
Yeah. And
there's always been this grand hesitation to put live streams of musicals out. We're starting to see it a lot more, but I love that accessibility with audiences around the world was a goal from the beginning. And I think you can also see that in the work itself.
I mean, I completely agree. And it came out during the pandemic when we're all like, is theater ever going to reopen and all that? And they drew a lot of comparisons between the other big musical that came out during the pandemic, Hamilton. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it. It's a kind of well-known underground show. But I think this is a much more effective film, so to say, while still embracing its theatricality, where Hamilton just feels like, here's 4 shots of the stage. Enjoy it. I really did not like that Hamilton pro shot. So I was very impressed that this felt cinematic with its theatrical nature. But a lot of other people did not like that. So Spike Lee, I believe he also famously directed Passing Strange when that was pro shot. So he does a lot of these, and I think this is a labor of love, and it wouldn't have been my first thought. Maybe someone who knows more about the Talking Heads would be like, "Oh yeah, Spike Lee, that lines up perfectly." But for when I heard that, I was like, "That feels strange to me." But watching it, his fingerprints are all over this, and I read a lot of reviews where it's like, "Oh, I don't see the Spike Lee of it all," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Spike Lee is like one of the most iconic visual styles ever, and you can't just not have that here. I really think that this as a film is one of the most effective pro shot stagings I've ever seen. However,
what's the however? I'm curious as to what the however is.
I am too.
Because I thought it was really well shot. I really liked the camera angles they were using and the close-ups and a lot of cool stuff you don't usually see.
Oh, yeah, but there is an issue I have discovered in this one that I have never had an issue with in another pro shot concert film. I tend to find myself perusing the audience a lot more here because they do show many shots where you can blatantly see the individuals of the audience, the 40-year-old soccer moms dancing, and I just get lost in the sea of humans. Like, what are they up to?
Jess is literally judging the audience, and that's his issue with the show.
It breaks the fourth wall where I'm just like, what are they up to?
Oh no, all of these 40-year-olds like this band from the 80s. Who would have thought?
I see, I've been to this theater before, and I see these women in the front row standing up and dancing, and I was like, if I'm in the second row just trying to enjoy the evening, I would have been pissed off.
Well, it's a Talking Heads concert in some ways.
It's on Broadway. You'd expect people to have a different kind of vibe. What were you saying, Joan?
You want more class from Broadway. Yeah. Don't enjoy the show. You paid money for these things.
One of my favorite moments from the stream, which I believe is still on HBO, but is literally they finish the introductory song and they get a standing ovation immediately.
Yes.
And David Byrne is kind of sitting there and is like, yep. And then after a beat, he goes, there's more. Just kind of quiet everyone because it did attract a huge demographic of people, old Talking Heads fans, general Broadway fans, people who knew his work through St. Vincent, all of that stuff. And so, yeah.
It's an eclectic group, and I love watching it. I love when he gets them involved. I think my favorite section in the entire pro shot is when he breaks down voting and how very few people voted in the last election, and how even fewer people voted in local elections, and how just one woman just starts screaming and standing up for no reason, and he plays it off so brilliantly.
I loved when he gets the audience involved. I like that he knows the audience too. I think there was one story he tells where he mentions Talking Heads and it immediately gets a huge cheer. And he's like, yeah, well, we weren't making very much money back then, so.
He's a charming guy, and I found myself wanting more of him just talking to me. I love the songs, I love the numbers, the ensemble, the percussionist, everyone is so flippin' talented. But when he's just talking to me about something he actually cares about or telling a story, I found myself so engaged.
Mm-hmm. And I love that his character was himself as an artist. Mm-hmm. He was never at any point trying to be anything that he wasn't. And I think that's true for the entire ensemble. And I think that this piece really does lend itself to inviting the audience in. And the closest that I ever got to seeing American Utopia live was actually when I was a seat filler at the Tony Awards in 2020. the makeup Tony Awards for the one that we missed during the pandemic.
Yeah, the one where we got blackout drunk during it. I remember.
Yeah.
You remember?
I was there filling seats, and immediately after they started, they just encouraged everyone to stand up and dance and feel joyful. And you can see that on the telecast footage as well. But I remember thinking that was so stark, especially because being in the theater of the Tony Awards, everyone is so excited, but there's also kind of a nervous tension. There's a formality to it that I think David Byrne could feel. And he's like, nope, that's not what this show is. Dance with us. And I loved it. And I did get up and dance.
And was that for the
Jess,
first
they
half
want
of
you
the,
to dance.
Was that for the first half of the Tonys, or was it the second half? Was it the Audra McDonald half, or was it the Leslie Odom half?
I believe it was the Audra McDonald half.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. It's hard for me to tell because we were in the same theater the entire time, at least the group that I was in. But I can't remember. But both Audra and Leslie Odom Jr. were incredible hosts. But yeah, I'll have to come back to that.
No worries. I was just curious, like, because I remember it was fairly early on in one of them. I just don't remember which one. And I remember it coming on, and Andrew's just like, I like talking heads.
I think I had a bit to drink.
Yeah, that was
I do like talking heads.
Yeah. That has been consistent. I was shocked at how sincere this was. Like, I don't see a lot of productions like this where they get so. I don't want to say political because that makes it almost sound like a negative connotation.
It sounds cynical in that way. It's not, though.
It's sincere. It's like so balls to the wall sincere in like, come on, we gotta be better, guys. Optimistic is probably one of the best words to describe it as. And on top of that, every one of the ensemble members I fell in love with in a different moment. They really get their time to shine. And I think I remember him talking with Spike Lee about the choice in costuming, where he kind of wants them all to fall in uniformity when they're together. But as soon as you step one out in front of everyone else, they stand out. There's also some lighting tricks that I thought were so impressive, and I'm shocked that no other Broadway show or show in general has figured out. So they have little sensor bars underneath their suits so that the lights will always know where to point at them. So they can dance wherever they want, improvise, and the spotlight will always follow them. And I'm like, that's the coolest fucking thing I've ever heard.
That is kind of sick.
And more shows need to implement that. And I don't know, Joan, you're probably in that world a little bit more than we are. Like, do you know of any show that does things like that?
I had actually never heard of that being utilized before American Utopia. And kind of like you, Jess, like I was surprised that is technology that we have that we're not utilizing more. But I also imagine a degree of that was David Byrne's dedication with this piece to not be wired up, to not have a set, to really have this freedom to move about the space and to interact with each other on a very, not impulsive, but I feel like they were never forcing anything to be the same night after night. They had their movements, but if there was a moment of chemistry that wasn't there the night before, even better, embrace it. And I think having that technology really allowed them to do that in a really interesting way. And yeah, I also remember seeing a lot of the ensemble switch instruments periodically and just being like, how are they doing this? Where are they going? But it was seamless. So of course we didn't pick up when they were leaving or re-entering unless it was a grand entrance. But I really thought that the tech and the directing was so effortless when put together. And that is something that I'm always looking for in musical theater, because we all know that's not always the case.
No. As Andrew once said recently, like the most set design he's used to seeing is like a chair and a table on a stage and calling that a set.
It's what is it, minimalist?
It's Michael Greif and Rent, and he's ruined Broadway forever.
This show was actually minimalist, and like they really didn't have much, but they made a lot out of it. Yeah. Instead of like, oh, we have no set and we're not going to do anything with it.
All right. I have to ask the very important question. that we're all thinking right now. Who was your favorite ensemble member? Because we all had a favorite, right?
Oh, I like them all. Let me.
I like the keyboard guy because that's the one I can most easily imagine myself as. But no, they're all fantastic. I really love how took like a drum kit and gave it to like 8 people, you know? And it's like that sounds like not a smart thing to do, but honestly it's like brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
I agree, and that's a great choice. My favorite, just because every time I saw her, there was another thing to question. It was the blonde with the tambourine. Because, like, she always dead-eyed the camera. She has this great face. There's a great use of her face. But also, she's the only one that's not completely barefoot. And I kept wondering, why you? Why did you decide you needed the little socks? Why did you need the flesh-colored socks?
It was a personal choice.
I know, but it interested me, and I was able to pick her out in a line no matter what, because we have like 1,000 close-ups of their feet throughout the show.
I actually, when I saw that, I thought maybe they all had the flesh-colored socks, so I kept looking for it.
So that's an interesting choice. Joan, do you have an answer yet?
Yeah, so and this is hard because I really loved all of them. And I also love that there is a moment in the show where David Byrne acknowledges that almost every single person in the ensemble is an immigrant, which was incredible to know because they all meshed so well, and they're all coming from different backgrounds just together to play this show, different musical backgrounds, different experience, whether it be in musicals or in just regular concert performance. But I really, really loved Chris Jarmo. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. But who was one of the movers, one of the dancers. Mm-hmm. And I also really loved Angie Swan, who I believe played bass and guitar. And I loved her because you could always tell that she was feeling the music that she was playing. She operated that entire show with so much joy, and I could feel it. And I also loved the ensemble member, and I feel so bad that I cannot remember her name, but with the bright red lipstick.
We're bad with names to begin with.
Ask me.
I think that the entire ensemble really does feel unified in a way that's super effective in mise en scène and all that. But I really want to give my plaudits to Annie B. Parson, who did the choreography. Well, I think that's a great transition we have to go into our favorite segment of the show, where we compare our opinions to those of the New York theater critics when this show first came out. It's time for previews!
It's time for previews. It's time for previews.
All right, Breed, we have a Ben Brantley here, which is one of the most baffling reviews. Not even negative, just strange.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to read it.
Go for it.
Ben Brantley, in their review for the New York Times, wrote that "Won't You Be His Neighbor?" David Byrne doesn't actually make that request in American Utopia.
Yep.
His cloud sweeping upper of a touring show, which opened on Broadway at the Hudson Theater on Sunday. Yet, when the silvery, grade suit pop star poses another musical question, "Will you breathe with me?" you may find yourself thinking of the theme song of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Can say saw it? Kid, no. Nope, not even a little bit.
Ben, what's going on?
Is this a recent review by him?
Yeah, this is one of his last ones before he retired.
Well,
why are we comparing David Byrne
he goes on for another 2 paragraphs.
Yeah, don't worry. I got you.
That's half the review is comparing him to Mr. Rogers.
I'm not the first person to note similarities between Fred Rogers, the cardigan-wearing children's television host, and Byrne, the new wave musician who rides into spotlight performing Psycho Killer in the 1970s. But as I watched
just like Mr. Rogers did.
Yeah.
He's Psycho Killer, yeah.
Run away.
But as I watched American Utopia, the comparison felt especially apt.
Did it though?
Rogers was a benevolent ditty dispensing
Was
educator.
He's
in-
benevolent. He was a god as well, right?
He ruled that little puppet
Omnipresent,
land.
benevolent.
Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
go ahead.
Bree.
Okay, Rogers was a benevolent ditty dispensing educator in civic virtue and human tolerance who hymned the miracles of beautiful days and kindly friends while acknowledging the fallibility of us all. So, I would argue, is the David Byrne of today. He just happens to infuse his teachings with a beat that turns everyone into a spasmodic Saint Vitus dancer.
First three
Word.
paragraphs of his New York Times
Just-
review.
wow.
Why would you waste so much print?
Let me say, he doesn't say much because we basically just skip to the last paragraph, because in the in-between thing, he's just listing like, and it was directed by this person and choreographed by this person. And he doesn't have another opinion until his last paragraph, which is here.
Time hasn't exactly mellowed these songs, but they now sound oddly hopeful in their bewilderment. When Byrne and company perform the 1985 hit Road to Nowhere as an encore, there's the jubilant reassurance that if the journey still has no destination, at least we're all in it together.
So let's unpack this a little bit. Ben Brantley was 1 foot out the door in his last year as the head critic of the New York Times.
It's like he saw the optimism of the show and was just like, what else is optimistic? Fred Rogers. Let's write 3 paragraphs about that.
Was he thinking of SEO? Like, what are people Googling right now? Fred Rogers might
He-
pop up.
We did skip one little line
I
about
did.
the new Tom Hanks movie with Fred Rogers.
Yeah, so,
So-
maybe he was like trying to get like connections there reading.
Maybe he had just seen the movie and was really it was just
True.
on his mind.
I skipped it because it didn't feel relevant as the movie came out a year ago. But
Joan, what is your thoughts on Ben Brantley, if you have any? Because we kind of cyberbully him here.
I do not have a ton of experience with Mr. Brantley, and I feel like I should, but alas, I will add that to my agenda for after this podcast. But I'm wondering if, American Utopia is pretty unlike anything that we've seen on Broadway before. And I think that's one of the reasons that I like it so much. My favorite sphere of theater is new work development. And I love to see, even when you're bringing old art forms, such as talking head songs, to Broadway, like what do you do to revitalize it, to make it new? And I'm just wondering if he was like, well, I don't have anything to compare this to. So Fred Rogers, that is it. Let's do it.
That's a very Ben Brantley thing to do. And I think one of our favorite things to do when we do like big episodes like Cabaret, he gave the original, like the Alan Cumming revival of Cabaret, a negative review in the 90s, like a very like dismissive review. And then when 2014 came out, it seemed like he was afraid to negate himself, so he just talked about the couple that sat in front of him for the entire review. You remember this?
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy he is.
It's literally like if he stubs his toe on the way into the theater, that will be the first 5 paragraphs of the review.
Yeah. Not that I like Jesse Green much more, because Jesse Green has been saying a lot of dumb shit lately that's pissing me the fuck off, but I don't think Ben Brantley was the one I really wanted to decide whether or not a bunch of people in a theater have jobs the next week or not. Let me just say it like that. And we have more followers than him on Twitter, so I'm going to wear that as a feather in my cap for the rest of my life.
As you should. As you should.
But
We're the real critics.
No, Andrew, we are not the real critics, but I think you know who the real critics are. It's time to dive into the insane world of Letterboxd with Bree Views 1-star, 5-star, where we play a game where we're going to read you the actual Letterboxd reviews, and you and Andrew have to decide whether they're a 1-star or a 5-star. Bree, do you want to be on Andrew's team or Joan's team?
I want to be on Joan's team.
Oh, girls rule, boys drool. Let's go, Andrew. We got this.
We got this.
We got this. Ladies
I
first.
always win.
Okay. All right. Is it Spike Lee or David Byrne that has the foot fetish? 1 star or 5 star?
Oh, I was not expecting that. I feel so strangely on the fence. I'm going to say 5 star.
Ooh, that was a 1 star.
Ah, man.
That's okay.
Oh.
That's okay. First question.
It's a tough one. That was a
It
tough
is.
one.
All right, Andrew, are you ready?
I'm ready.
There's so many
Zen.
good choices here today. David Byrne voice. Did you know that babies are actually really smart?
That is the show. They nailed it. 5 stars. 5 stars.
That's a 1 star. See? This game makes no sense. Let's go.
How do you so accurately describe the entire show
And then give it a 1 star.
and then give it a 1 star?
We should be more like babies. Which I agree with, I'm being honest.
I'd love to shit my pants all day.
Someone else has to change it though.
No, they don't. We're all babies. We just kind of.
Oh, baby.
That's what Mr. Rogers is for.
Mr.
That's what David
Rogers
Byrne is there for.
He can change all of our diapers.
Okay. This is how all musicals should be. No plot, just peepaw vibin'.
First of all, I want that on a shirt.
Peepaw vibing.
I'm gonna say 5 stars.
That was a 1 star.
What? How is that a 1 star? That
I
was
think peepaw vibing is 5
they
stars.
literally said that
I
this is
agree.
how they should all be. So they should all just be 1 stars.
I guess so.
Andrew, you're ready for yours.
Yeah.
Miss you, mom. And instead of YOU, it's the letter U. So it's Miss You, Mom.
That is a tough one because that is literally nothing to do with the show at all. 5 stars.
That is correct. And you are getting the first point.
That was a total guess.
Letterboxed. All right, Bree. What you got next for Joan?
David Byrne is a little meow meow. I'm sorry, there's more. It was kind of girl boss of him to burn down some houses.
It's not wrong.
Is David Byrne able to be girl boss?
Is he allowed to be a little meow meow if he's not a cat?
Yes. That one I say yes. I
Oh,
don't know about the girl
goodness.
boss one though.
Okay, I'm gonna go 3 for 3 and say that's a 5 star.
That is a 5 star.
Thank goodness.
We're on the board.
All right, Andrew, you ready?
I honestly don't know anymore. Let's do it though.
Everyone in the audience is dancing like ScarJo and the marriage story meme. I knew that one would get Joan. I'm so happy she
I
laughed.
can see it in my brain. It haunts me.
Now you'll never be able to watch this again without thinking about the marriage story meme or the
So is this-
marriage story meme.
I'm gonna go 1 star.
That is correct.
Damn, I'm good.
All right, Bree, what you got?
Actually expected a documentary, not a fucking live concert.
Do they think America's a real utopia and they were just like expecting a film about it?
Like, it's just this documentary. Hi, I'm David Byrne, and here I am to tell you why America is great.
I don't know how I feel about this, friends. I'm gonna go 4 for 4 and say that's a 5 star.
That's a 1 star. I think they wanted to watch a documentary that
They
day.
really wanted to watch a documentary.
I keep just not going with my gut because I'm like, I think that this is a trick question. But if there's one thing that I am learning as I get older, it's that not everything's a trick question. Sure,
I would
feels
say it's like a double reverse psychology, but honestly, it's not.
There's no psychology.
You never know with Letterbox, really.
Letterbox doesn't have psychology.
It's like irony, but 9 times over, to the point where you don't even know what it is anymore. All right, Andrew, you ready?
Yeah.
Hamilton found dead in a ditch.
I mean, if they think this killed Hamilton, they must have liked it, right? So, 5 stars.
That is correct.
Man.
There was at least some logic to that one, I think.
All right, Joan. Great day for feet people.
True.
Lots of feet.
Except for the sock person.
Yeah, that one sock person really killed the
vibe a little bit.
Well, now I'm just in a tizzy because I was wrong the first time. You know what? I'm on a roll. I don't care. 5 stars.
That's 5 stars. This must have been a foot person.
Okay, but was it David Byrne or Spike Lee with the foot fetish?
Little both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
60-40. David Byrne, Spike Lee.
All right, Andrew, here's one. When I watched this, my mom walked in and asked me if I was watching a church show.
You know, yeah, a little bit actually.
Lots of white people in the audience.
It's got a bit of a gospel-y like look to it. Geez, that doesn't tell me at all what ranking it would be though. 1 star for the church show?
That's a 5, Andrew.
Oh. Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, Joan, you can take the lead here.
Okay, let's go.
White boy off the shits.
Uh-huh.
I thought your screen was frozen for a second. You were so still.
Oh, no.
White boy off the shits.
White boy off the shits.
Off the shits.
That's Jeff Daniels in Dumb and Dumber. He's off the shits.
He's off the shits.
I'm going to give it 5.
That's a 5.
And she's in the lead now. All right, Andrew, we got to take it back.
Okay, give me an easy one.
David sounds good, but why does it feel like he's selling me an iPhone?
It's like the whole thing's like an advertisement to them. They're like, you trying to sell me on this idea of the American utopia? What do you want, an iPhone next? 1 star.
That is a 1 star. Tied up. All right, Bree, one more for Joan, one more for Andrew, then we're done.
Okay. Ah! That was the
Andrew
review.
jumped. Andrew jumped.
That was the review.
That was it? That was the whole thing?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they smiled or frowned when they wrote that, but
Can I just say that your execution of that was 10 out of 10?
thank you.
Before I give my answer. We're going to say 5 stars.
That's a 5-star.
Hey!
I am an excellent actress. Thank
All
you.
right, Andrew, this is our last one. Don't fuck it up.
Okay, I'm ready.
Saw live. We'll do more full review later.
Bro, are you fucking kidding me? This is the review, dude.
Like,
Okay, I have to get this one though.
Don't fuck it up, Andrew.
They saw it live.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of effort. It probably costs a lot of money to see this. They probably like it. 5 stars.
That is correct, and we are tied. This is a tied game.
Oh,
Good
goodness.
job to both players.
yay!
I can.
Full review later.
This is not a tied game.
Is it not? Did Joan win?
Yes.
Joan, you're the winner! Yeah!
What? Oh my goodness.
She won.
Me? Little old me?
Yes.
3-4.
You win pride and joy and all the wonders of the world.
All I could ever ask for.
Hell yeah. You know what? On that note, it's time to go into some advertising, and then let's talk about some of these songs. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the show. What do we've got a shill at you? Today's show is brought to you by the extremely kind donations by our donors over at Patreon. Andrew, tell us about Patreon and who is over there.
Oh man, Patreon is where you can go if you want to get like extra content from us and also give us money so we can, keep doing the show. Right now we have Patreon with Cheese, which is a separate podcast just for patrons, and you can also like request episodes and all sorts of cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. And me and Andrew just did a commentary on Cinderella, the 2021 movie, which was garbage. Also, don't forget that you can get video versions of this episode. You can see Joan Milburn's wonderful, wonderful face right now, like looking right at us, looking into our souls right now. In fact, I can see right on the tip of her lips, like what she really, really wants to say in her soul. She wants to say, support us on Patreon, but sadly she's muted, so she can't really say those words right now. But I promise you, she really, really wants to say those words. Damn it, I couldn't do it. It couldn't weasel it out.
Just we're gonna read through these. Are you reading or I'm doing it?
I'll read it. Today, our current patrons are Melissa Goldman, John Donna, Leighton Ackles, Danielle Renix, Jess the Stampede, Ewan Cassidy, Taskier, Monica Thoreau, Eloise Fitzgerald, Mina Maniri, Brent Black, Nathaniel, Stacy Coombe, Joseph Evans, Green Carrier, Hearn, Mary Lou Choquette, John Vanals, Russ Walker, Musical Hell, Emily Gracie, Kyle Summers, Janae C, Scoot in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, Liz Lynn, Allison Stellar, Nothing is Certain Except Beth and Taxes, Thesbian, Ren Cohn, Rafael Martinez Salaz, Robert Benjamin, Jessica T, Mitchell Young, Chai Teacup, Katie McDonough, Timothy Keys, Chris Marcotte, Mimu, Kiji Marie Anastasio, Layla, RJ Norija, Avon Regan, Charlie B, Patrick Deering, Avery Brinson, Joe, Mary Lynn Brown, Lefemme Fictionale, Bjorn Hermans, Mac the Knife, Erica S, Toriana Frazier, Sammy the Most Lopez, Liana Morton, Angela, Kaylee Blazier, Birdman 69. Oh, there's always one. Danielle Smith, Cinemageddon Reviews, and Villainous Miss. They all support us and help us keep the lights on here at Musicals with Cheese. If you'd like to join them and get tons of fun perks, come join them over on Patreon. All right, I think we've talked enough nonsense. Let's get back to the show. Let's talk about the opening number here.
Put your hand out of your pocket. Wipe the sweat off of your brow. Now it feels like a bad connection. No more information now. As it passes through your neurons like a whisper in the dark. Raise your eyes to one who loves you. It is safe right where you are.
I really like this opening, and I'm not sure how it plays like actually physically in the room, but on screen with editing, it is so damn effective at getting you engaged in what could just be a generic concert film and shows you that it's much more than that. What do you think, Joan?
I definitely agree with you in terms of it really hooks us in as viewers. And I also think that it is very effective at inviting us into the world of the play, but without saying too much or showing too much. So we kind of know what we're in for, but at the same time, at least when I was viewing it, I was like, there's a lot of potential here. And I also love that it was after the first song that the ensemble was introduced gradually, so they didn't all come in at once, which I also thought was beautiful and very effective. Yeah. I can hear David Byrne's voice in my head going, here. I'm not a singer. For those who don't know.
They had that cool brain prop. I mean, that was neat.
I mean, that was the summary of the entire show. Like, what if babies are smarter than us? Isn't that the entire premise, according to Letterboxd?
Yeah, I mean, Letterboxd, that's a trustworthy source.
Yeah. Andrew, what do you think about the songs that aren't like... that are from the Talking Heads specifically, that kind of feel shoved into this a bit?
I have mixed feelings because they're good songs. I'm assuming you're talking about like their big hits that are just kind of there. He tries to loop them into the theme, and I think that it works pretty well for the most part. But sometimes it does just feel like he's playing the hits and playing to the crowd. So it's I have mixed feelings about it because the whole rest of the show feels very artful and like it's really something that he really wanted to do. And then when he plays like burning down the house, it's like, well, is that just the crowd wanted to hear that? Like, I don't know. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he really felt that fit into the show. I don't know.
What do you think, Joan?
I definitely feel similarly. And that was something that I was thinking about a lot after I saw it for the first time, because when I reflect on American Utopia as a whole and my experience with it, my 3 favorite songs from the musical are actually not Talking Head songs. It is Hell You Talking About, which is a Janelle Monáe song. And then I Should Watch TV, which is a song that he did with St. Vincent. And then Everybody's Coming to My House, which is from his American Utopia album. And I think that I was willing to let it slide because I am such a Talking Heads fan. But it specifically with Burning Down the House, I felt a little bit taken out. But also being in the theater and, being a writer, I do think that knowing your audience and playing to your specifically older audience is a tool. But yeah, the ones that really stuck with me were actually the newer ones.
Yeah, I agree. I do think thematically he gets the songs to work. Like, I think Burning Down the House in the context of the show is like a rebellious sort of song about like, burning down what is current, and making something better. Once in a Lifetime, I mean, that's just kind of a song that's just about, the American way, I guess. I don't even know what you would say for that, but he's kind of following up on things that he talked about earlier in the show with those, but they still just stand out as weird. The one that I can kind of forgive, though, is Road to Nowhere, as it's the last one, and I kind of think that it actually does fit the show really well.
I agree with that.
So Road to Nowhere is the only one that I didn't feel like this is like a little out of place.
I also really, really loved This Must Be the Place because of the way that they utilized movement, and specifically this very, I don't want to say outlandish because I feel like that is inherently like negative, but I don't mean it that way at all. I thought it was amazing and it was my favorite part about it. But I did really like the way, and I guess where they put This Must Be the Place because it is so iconic, and definitely agree with you about Road to Nowhere.
The only Talking Heads song that I really, really liked when I listened to this, because I'm not a big Talking Heads fan, I really liked Izimbra just because he contextualized it with the Dadaism and how he was trying to turn like Dadaist works into music, and I was like, then I hear what it turned into. I'm like, I'm vibing this. I liked hearing the creative process and developing this. Like, that was the one where I'm like, this feels disconnected from the rest, but in a good way.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I agree with you entirely. But I wanted to stand up and defend the weird Dadaist song in the middle of the first half.
No, it doesn't need defense. That one was pretty good.
Well, I do want to talk about the Janelle Monáe song, Hell You Talking About. I know that's a way later in, but I feel like it's its own like little play within this musical and easily the highlight. Hell you talking about, 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 hell you talking about.
Walter Scott, say his name. Walter Scott, say his name. Walter Scott, say his name. Walter Scott, won't you say his name? Jermaine Reed, say his name. Jermaine Reed, say his name. Jermaine Reed, say his name. Jermaine Reed, won't you say his name?
I'm also a huge Janelle Monáe fan, so when it came up in the show and he was also taking time to really discuss how this song came to be in the show and his relationship and asking permission from Janelle, I really, really enjoyed having that as well. but Hell You Talking About is a protest song, and they use it in the show as a memorial for those lost by police violence. And I really, it made me very emotional the first time that I saw it. And then as I continued watching, I realized just how genius it was, I feel like. And I loved that. And this kind of goes back to something that I was talking about earlier in the podcast, but what it means to have a relationship with your audience and build community through your art. And I think that the way that they utilized the photos of the people that they were singing about, and then also in some cases had their family members or their loved ones be the one to bear these images. And it gets me like choked up, because I also think it was unlike anything else I'd seen in a musical ever before. And it didn't feel like, you know, we want to make a political statement. It did not feel that way at all. It felt like it really needed to be there. And I'm like losing my words a little bit, because it is one of those numbers that when I'm talking about it, when I think about it, it transports me back to seeing it. And I hope that Janelle Monáe herself got to come and see a performance of it as well.
And I've listened to her interpretation of the song and his very different interpretations that both sell the same exact message beautifully. Two very, very gifted artists trying to stand up for something bigger than themselves. And it really, really is an effective emotional number, for lack of a better words. And the use of the ensemble and how multi-diverse it is, and how they are then put into the forefront, and he's just kind of like background music to them. Quite often, I really appreciate it as well. Like how the people of color, they're the ones that put the fist in the air and all that. Things like that are small but very effective in that it's not just performative white activism.
Yeah, no, I could not agree more. And I think it's also important to note that this number was put into the show before the pandemic. And so this was not something that was added in response to the pandemic, in response to the murder of George Floyd, in response to the civil rights movement. Not that I think that would have been a bad thing, but I think one thing that's been really frustrating me about theater is a lot of promises are being made, and a lot of there's been a lot of performative activism within the Broadway community, and to know that it was always there. This show did not exist without that piece. I think it just speaks to your point, Jess, that you just made. Yeah.
What do you think, Andrew?
I think this is, I mean, I can't really add more than you've already said, other than that, I think after seeing this part, this is where the whole show kind of became more than what it was before for me. And I feel like almost everyone should see this in a lot of ways. Like there's a lot of people that I think should watch this show in particular.
Yeah, and it's like the anti-Hamilton in a strange way, where
Hamilton dead. This show killed.
I don't want to quite say that, but I do feel like Hamilton is very much a product of the optimism of the Obama administration and the promise of America that we can look back nostalgically at what we did perfectly, and rosy-colored glasses, where here it feels a little bit more optimistic for the Trump administration and the early Biden administration, where hopefully we will get better, but shit sucks right now, and we need to do better.
I think, and I've wanted to sort of say this, and I think the song that follows this as well, it fits really well.
It is not
I think the whole summary of it is this optimistic futurism that has been long dead in our culture. And I think we're seeing a bit of a resurgence. And I think this show exemplifies it. And just the idea that the world can be better, but we have to actually do something to get it there, rather than just, well, it's pretty dang good right now, and let's just celebrate that, you know?
Yeah, and the song you're talking about is One Fine Day.
Yes.
The song right afterwards.
Which is actually, I think, my favorite song in the show. But
mine is dumb, so we'll talk about that after we're done with serious stuff. But I really do agree with you. And I think this is important in a specific way where a lot of older white people who tend to lean conservative because our values are changing, who might find themselves to be Talking Heads or David Byrne fans, going to this would get a message that they wouldn't have gotten at a Kid Rock concert or something like that.
I mean, Kid Rock is
Yeah, I know what Kid Rock is. The only celebrity we got from Detroit, him and Bob Seger. What else? What were you saying, Joan?
No, Bob Seger, not as bad.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I completely agree with that. And I think that it's just yet another reason that this show resonates so much with me, and why I love it so much is because, and also why so many people need to see it, because David Byrne was given an opportunity, and he basically, from my point of view, was like, okay, so I am being given a chance to share this on Broadway, which is a historically gate-kept, majority white, like quite classist institution.
Yeah.
And I just think that the way that he took that and used it as an opportunity was so necessary. And I just wish that we saw more of that in Broadway, period. Like, because, and this is how I've seen it since I really got into Newark development, but I would much rather see more American Utopias than see another revival of The Music Man on. But, you know,
The Music Man is so good too, but I agree. I do agree.
David Byrne as the Music Man, except he gets to write his second act monologue.
Yeah.
Now that would be interesting.
Jess with the good ideas. Hang on.
Hey,
Write that down.
I want to talk about my favorite song just because I'm dumb, and this was just a goofy number. And it was I Dance Like This, just because I love the weird dance move that David Byrne would do.
Career opportunities that you never had. We dance like this because it feels so damn good. If we could dance better, and you know that we would.
His dance move
It's
was
a
like, I
wild
dance
one.
like this, and then like that. I was like, oh, I love this.
Reminds me of I Can't Dance by, was that Phil Collins or something, where the whole song is just about not being able to dance. It's kind of the same thing. Except for this one's more joyful, where they don't care that they can't dance. They like not being able to.
And in that interview with Spike Lee and David Byrne, Spike Lee just roasting like his dance move. He's like, I knew which dance move was yours. It was this one where you look like a little cockatiel. He's like, no, those are my... He's like, no, those are my flippers. He's like, those are your flippers. Okay. So I don't know. This is just me like embracing goof and happiness and joy and not being able to dance as someone that cannot dance myself. But Joan, you are actually a very talented dancer, so maybe you took offense by this.
Jess, I'm just curious to know what made you think I have any sort of dancing skill.
You do crazy gyrating dance moves on your TikTok.
What?
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. I consider it more to be like performance art, because I consider myself a mover. not a dancer. I wish I was a dancer, but thank you for the compliment. But no, I took no offense whatsoever. In fact, like I think that if I were to ever do like a big musical again, I don't know that that will ever happen. But if I do, I would want to dance like David Byrne and a cockatiel. I think that suits me. Matches my energy.
You're a cockatiel energy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think bird energy.
Yeah, I can see that. What energy would you give the rest of us here if we had animal energy?
Animal energy.
Come on.
I would say, man, Jess, I don't know why. The first animal that came to my head for you was a corgi.
That's about right. that one. Bree's laughing because of how much that lines up.
Clearly, I would be a lion, correct? Not some sheep.
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah. I feel the like joy, exuberance, and yeah.
Joan is slowly creeping up to being my favorite guest. Just the more she talks about me being a corgi.
And I grew up my family only ever owned corgis growing up. We never had any other breed of dog. And even now, like I might be corgi biased, but I really just think that they're special creatures. And I think that you said lion. I could see that. I also get like I'm really trying to like not censor my gut instincts, but I'm like, how do I qualify these choices? Chinchilla?
Yes. I hard agree with that.
And like I'm really just like I'm running on pure vibes, y'all. This is you're getting like rare insight into how like my TikToks are made too. Like really just running on like feral vibes. And
Andrew, chinchillas are so cute. Like you are a chinchilla.
Yeah, maybe like a
also, like,
chinchilla lion hybrid.
Yeah, I can see that. Chinchillas are also like smart and like they're like quippy. Like I might be making this up, but I feel like when I was doing research into various, I don't even know if a chinchilla is like a rodent, but I
That's a rodent.
used to own hamsters, almost got a guinea pig, almost got a chinchilla once, but that they're like very like, they like to like go back and forth, like be playful with like other of their rodent friends. I'm really digging myself into a hole here.
They're slightly larger and more robust than ground squirrels.
You're the lion of squirrels, Andrew. What about Bree? Come on.
Bree, I would say like a lynx.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My gut
see
says.
Okay.
I see it.
I can vibe with it.
Now I demand everyone, JRL Studios who's out there, draw all four of us as these animals together.
Please.
And fulfill someone's fetish. On that note, what is our overall thoughts on David Byrne's American Utopia and our cheese ratings? Andrew, why don't you go first? Give us an example.
Okay. Yeah, I really liked this. Can you still find this on anything? Or is
Yeah, it's on
this
HBO
not...
Max right now. You can go check it out. That's where I watched it.
Yeah, I mean, go watch this. If you like Talking Heads, definitely go watch this. If you don't, I'd still maybe check it out because honestly, it's really good. Yeah, I think we've covered pretty much everything. So just check this out, just straight up. As far as the cheese rating, I'm gonna give it aged American cheese. It's American Utopia, and I feel like this show is very nice, like aged cheese. And so there you go.
All right, Joan, you're up.
Well, I, as you all know, am a very big fan of this, and I hope that we see a lot more shows coming to Broadway that are developmental and experimental and kind of minimalist, but in a futurist kind of way, like American Utopia. I hope we see more of that. And I also hope we get more musicals streamed. Hope for that. And for cheese, I'm going to give this like I'm going to say smoked Gouda.
Ooh,
Good.
I like
That's
the smoked
good. And
Gouda.
that's
very
good.
tasty for sure.
Very spicy, a little bit of smokiness on the top of it.
Not
Our-
it wouldn't be spicy at all, actually. But
Would it not? I feel like it gives you a little bit of a kick more than a normal Gouda.
There's like a little like twang to Gouda, but there's layers, you know? I feel like there's layers to this show.
it's it's dairy. It's not spicy.
Hey, Bree, what's your cheese rating on our discussion?
Okay, as we know, I decide if I want to see a show after I hear everyone talk about it. And you guys liked it, so I feel like I would like it. And your conversation made me want to go watch it. I'm happy to hear it's on HBO Max still. I'm gonna give it a slice of New York cheese pizza. That's kind of how I'm vibing right now. That sounds really good, and the show sounds good.
Yeah, but Detroit style's better.
Oh fuck no, it's not. Ew, no, it's too bready.
Oh, you're right. I hate canker sores. You're right. Why would I say that? I don't know why we were given like the best pizza town in the world. That was so stupid.
That was horrible. No, makes no sense.
Like all of our pizza sucks here. I was just trying to show some spirit, but you're right. Our pizza sucks.
New York pizza is the best. New York
I
style.
like Chicago style because it's basically not a pizza.
That's why it's not good, Jess.
Yeah, it's, like,
It's
it's too
like
wet. Ugh.
It's a cauldron of cheese. Cheese cauldron.
Why does that sound bad to you?
Because it is bad.
Yeah.
I didn't say that it did. It's just what it is.
It's too saucy.
I would give like my pinky for a cauldron of cheese right now.
Well, Jess, what is your rating?
My cheese rating comes after my overall thoughts, and I really, really liked this show. This is just not usually my cup of tea, so I was really, really happy that I enjoyed this, and I want to watch it again. Honestly, like quite often after I do a show on the like we cover a musical on the show, I have zero interest in revisiting it for XYZ reasons. I really want to rewatch this one like very soon. So that's my thoughts. And the only thing I can give this is there is a cheese shop in Wisconsin called the Talking Cheeseheads, and how could I avoid? How could I avoid that?
Yeah, you do have to give it that.
So that's it. That's the only thing I could do. Joan, you are an absolutely fantastic guest. Thank you for joining us. Please promote all your socials, your content for the world to see because they need to see it.
Oh, this has been the most fun I've had in like weeks. I've been in just like work mode for a hot minute now, and thank you guys so much for having me on. I would love to come back and do like a bad show. I was really bummed that Dear Evan Hansen was taken when I was first looking.
Oh, we got a Hansen hater?
I could write a dissertation.
We already have.
We've written two.
I will also say I have beef with Pasek and Paul as a whole. I think
You want to cover James and the Giant Peach?
I haven't seen it.
Is
that
Pasek
out?
and Paul? Yeah, they did it when they were fresh out of college. It exists.
Oh, okay. Well, I know what I am adding to my Spotify lineup.
Hey, if you got stuff to say, we'll bring it back.
Beautiful. But my socials are Instagram and TikTok are joan.milbs. And my website is www.joanmilburn.com. And yeah, if you go to any of those from this podcast, please let me know because I want to be friends with all of the fellow cheese lovers out there. This has just been such a wonderful experience.
Anything you want to say before I start going into the spiel that wraps up the show?
No, just thank you. And I guess to also echo David Byrne within American Utopia, make sure that you're getting out to vote. Not just in presidential elections, but in your local elections. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Andrew, do you know who's definitely not voting in our local elections?
Well, just
Our
a lot of
wonderful
people-
patrons. Thank you guys for listening. Please follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher at Musicals with Cheese. We're on Twitter at Cheesy Musicals. We're on Patreon at Musicals with Cheese, Instagram Musicals with Cheese. We have a Patreon-only podcast called Patreon with Cheese. Email us at musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com. Our title card was created by the amazing Jolene Casco. Go send them some love on Instagram at Jolene Casco. Our keeper of the cheese is Juliet Antonio. Thank you, Juliet, for keeping track of that, because I wouldn't. This show is produced by the beautiful, the incredible, one of my favorite people in the entire world, Brianna Jones. Our theme songs were created by Robin Nash of IOU Music UK, and you're about to hear a bunch of new ones. She's doing some new recordings for us. Get ready, get hyped, bitches. Thank you to the Broadway Podcast Network for having us on the platform and for not kicking us off for talking so much about cheese. I couldn't think of one. I couldn't think of one about a talking head. I couldn't. There was nothing coming to mind. All right. Anything else we have left to say before we wrap this up?
Nope.
Everyone have a wonderful day.
That was very Mr. Rogers of you, Andrew.
Oh, goodness.
Hang on. I have a couple things to say about Mr. Rogers and how I'm very similar to him in a lot of ways.
I mean, Joan has a sweater on that's a little Rogers-esque.
Rogers-esque, yeah.
I'm concerned that someone is going to hear this podcast episode and start writing the Mr. Rogers musical.
Oh, no. Oh, no. With David Byrne music.
Don't tell Tom Hanks.
No. My worst fear would be like Alex Brightman or someone coming in like, I'm Mr. Rogers.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah, that would be really good.
Joan, how about we end on your best Mr. Rogers impression, and then we'll go out.
Do you want to be my neighbor?
Perfect. 10 out of 10. We'll see you next
Won't you be
time at
mine?
Musicals with Cheese. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Will you be mine? Will you be mine? I'm Alex Brightman. Will you be my neighbor?